So we have a new patch inside of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but are the same problems actually plaguing the game? That's what we're going to talk about, and some other little Easter eggs that Gun dropped in one of their recent live streams. Touch on that stuff as well, and just give you my overall opinion of some of the bigger things that they fixed in this patch. And of course, I want to hear from y'all after the video. What do you think about the state of the game? Are you having fun with it right now? And maybe touch on some of the points that I'm going to mention here as well. And if you like what I do here, consider subscribing. Let's go and get into it. You know, the two newest characters that they added, Danny and Nancy, are two really powerful characters. And so Danny had an unintended consequence with his perk and being able to tamper objects. Well, he was actually too good at that, and he was actually permanently opening especially the fuse box. And so they have now fixed that. You know, Danny's perk allows him to open exits longer, not permanently open them. So, of course, that created an entire problem. And honestly, Danny, with a good squad, as long as people are watching his back and you take some time with him, he already can be a problem. It just takes some time to actually utilize him. So they fixed it where he's not permanently opening those exits now, which is a good thing. They also fixed the UI for Leatherface. And I noticed that, you know, the chainsaw rev was not working. It was out of sync or something. And so, you know, that safe area, once you get the chainsaw up over Leatherface's head, you can kind of feather it and keep it there pretty much indefinitely. But what would happen is it would show that you were safer than what you actually were, and it would just cut out on you. And so they've now reverted that. And I played with Leatherface, actually, this game you see right here. I get trolled in the beginning, but I do come back, so don't worry. But it does seem to be a lot better than what it was after the big patch at the end of November. They also fixed the overlooked perk, and so this allows you to basically move around when Grandpa is using his sonar ability, which is a pretty good perk, and it has up to 4 charges, but it would use all 4 the very first time you were spotted when Grandpa's sonar ability was going off, and so they've now fixed that as well. They also reverted Johnny back to the way he was before the big patch. They had an unintended consequence here when they fixed his lunge. So the developers have been very clear about Johnny. He is supposed to have that lunge. What he's not supposed to have is a speed boost with that lunge. So they've reverted him back, and then they're going to focus on the speed boost part of him at a later time. So any of you Johnny mains, you don't have your shirtless Johnny yet, but at least you got him back to the way he was before. There's also like this weird invincibility thing when you're using hiding spots. If you're going, you know, out of the hiding spot and then you go back into it, you would be like invincible for the rest of the match. Fix that. They also cut down on the nuggets detection range. I noticed that this was an issue. I even feel like there was times as a victim I would walk by some of the nuggets and they would start going off. One thing that Gun specifically mentioned is that even through walls, the nuggets were able to detect you, and that's not how they should obviously be working, especially now considering that that sound wave will actually follow you if you're being too noisy. And so they've reverted nuggets back a little bit too, to not make them less effective, but not make them super hyper focused laser beaming through walls and detecting everything in sight or out of sight. So that's a good thing. They also mentioned some new cosmetics and stuff, and Wes at Gun was like, hey, maybe sooner than what people actually think. We got this patch sooner than what we thought it would come, and I don't know, maybe end of year there might be some new cosmetics and stuff dropping, so we definitely have to be on the lookout for that. What I'm really hoping is that they're dropping in some content that people can earn in game, and it's not more paid content. They also dropped what might be a little bit of an Easter egg here. I'll let you guys decide, but they wrote this on their X. Due to some complicated things involving star signs and retrograde, we aren't sure the game is a prequel and Pam hasn't read the astrology book yet. The patch is rolling out now on all platforms. Make sure to restart the game fully in order to download the patch. Does this mean that Pam is coming to the game? I really hope so. It would be really cool to have another recognizable character, especially on the victim side, to play as. And so we'll just have to wait and see. Now, Pam died early on in the actual movie, but hey, we can make her survive a little bit longer and change the way things play out for Pam if she is actually coming to the game. The one problem area that I continue to have, and I know a lot of y'all have too, especially after I did that last video, is the matchmaking. Now, Gunn did mention this briefly, but they say that every time they look at matchmaking on the server side, everything looks correct. Matchmaking has been atrocious. It's really been bad after the big patch, and I think even before that. Now, I was playing a lot of family from the time right before Nicotero Leatherface came out to when that big patch came out. I was playing a lot of family, and you get in quickly into matches as family. But when you're playing as the victim, like I said, it can still be sometimes waiting 20 to 25 minutes to get into a single match, which will for sure kill this game if that's not something that's fixed. Now, like I said in that video before, that's not like the average time it's taking, but it has taken up to 25 minutes sometimes to get into a match. I think it took me 28 minutes at one point to get into one single match. Now, the connection is way better during the day when there's not a lot of people on than it is later at night when you have the majority of players on. So there's something else going on here. Now, one thing that I will say in their defense is you can't fix a people issue. And obviously lobby dodging is going to be a part of this. Anytime you have, select characters, people like their characters that they want to play with, people are going to bounce around. Now, one thing that Gunn mentioned is having like a backfill, because eventually they're going to be taking the timer out of the game altogether, out of the pregame lobby, and having the lobbies backfill. So if people decide to back out, there will be somebody else to jump right into their place. Maybe that's the answer. I would say that it was a player issue if it weren't for the fact that most of the time when I see this happen, it's like 3 out of 4 victims are readied up, good to go. 2 out of 3 killers are good to go. Sometimes you'll see people bounce in and out, but what they said at Gunn is that a lot of times people will fill these lobbies, back out because they see their favorite character is already taken, and it doesn't even register in the lobby. Maybe that is the case. Maybe it just is lobby dodging, and it's happening so quick that we don't even see it. I don't know. I tend to notice, and I know that you guys do as well, when I see somebody come in and back out, but I guess if they do it quick enough, we never see that. And so it could very well just be a people issue. Whatever the case is, though, maybe backlogging every single lobby now, maybe by them removing the timer, hopefully this stuff will help to get into these lobbies. I don't ever really remember having this much issue in Friday the 13th. I know I don't have this much issue in Dead by Daylight. It might take a couple of minutes to get into a match, but that was about it. Friday the 13th took a little bit longer, but I don't ever remember that being an issue. But with this game, you have 4 victims, you have 3 killers, people have their favorites they want to play as. You can't fix people, you know what I mean? Like they tried to fix it where you have 5 out of 7 people that are readied up, good to go, but you always have that one that might unready and then ready and then unready and then the timer goes back. So there's only so much I guess they can do, and on their side everything's showing to be in working order. And because you can't fix people, maybe something they could do as an experiment for a weekend or a week is just have everybody thrown into a lobby and victims and killers are random. You don't know what you're going to get. So you have, all of your characters kind of set up before you get into a match, and then when you get into that match, you may be one or the other. If somebody doesn't like that they're going to be a killer this round, they want to play as victim, maybe then that backfilled log will actually have another player jump in their place. So we'll just have to see, man. Hopefully they have something else planned here, or some of those other things they talked about will actually fix this issue. Love to hear from y'all, man. Are you having any more issues with the game? Are you enjoying the updates so far? Let me know down below. And again, if you like what I do, consider subscribing. See y'all in the next one. And as always, hold them down.